I have ranked all positive and negative traits in Project Zomboid. I have also ranked all of those added by More Traits mod, but today we are ranking all of the traits added by Simple Overhaul mod. Many traits have been reworked, their cost changed, what they do has been changed, and many new traits has also been added. Now the idea behind Simple Overhaul is basically keeping it real with the vanilla Project Zomboid feel, just a fair and rebalanced trade system. There are really many changes, and I'll be putting a link in the description below where you can go and check all the changes that has been made. Now, with all that being said, let's rank all of the positive traits that have been added. Many of these traits that have been added just give you 1 point in one of the chosen skills that you want. So first one, we have Scullion. Scullion gives you +1 cooking, and it only costs you 1 point. So, for that 1 point, it's pretty good, but let's be real. Cooking is not a high priority skill. But if you have maybe 1 point remaining that you can, not use for anything else, maybe take cooking. We'll put it into C tier right now. Another one that will only cost you 1 point is the mushroom picker. Basically, this one is going to give you more mushrooms when you're doing foraging. Now, foraging is pretty powerful if you play with it. If you want to go that way, foraging can be pretty powerful, and getting even more mushrooms when you know which mushrooms are good and which are bad is going to keep you fed for a long time. So this is very situational, but for 1 point, I would say it's pretty decent. I'll put it into B tier. Now, the following traits are gonna cost you 2 points onwards from here. The next one is Carpenter. Pretty straightforward. You get +1 carpentry, and that of course means 1 point in carpentry, means 75% extra XP in that. But again, carpentry is pretty situational. I know a lot of people really love it, and I used to really love carpentry because, I always done barricading and building your own base and all that such, but you don't always build a base. You don't always need carpentry or high carpentry. So this, I'd say, is again situational, but still one of the better traits out here, so we're gonna put it into B tier. Next we have Forager. Once again, you get 1 point in the skill for 2 points spent, and that also means 75% extra XP gained. Foraging, it feels with the new system in foraging, the foraging just keeps on going higher and higher on the importance thing, and I think having some extra skill or having extra XP in foraging is actually gonna be really useful for any long-term playthroughs. So I'm actually gonna put this into A tier. Next on the list we have Trapper. Now, this not only gives you the 1 point, it also gives you the ability to make a stick trap and a wooden cage trap. So you get 2 extra trap recipes that you otherwise would have to find a magazine to learn. So if you're going the trapping way, this could be useful. But trapping is, when it comes to getting food long-term, I feel it's like the least of the important ones. Farming, I would say it's better and easier. Same with fishing, and I don't really rank trapping too high, so we're gonna put this one into C tier as well. Next we have Light-Footed. Let's be real, 1 point in Light-Footed is really not gonna do much for you. Even if you go the sneak build, the sneak way, it's really not that useful or important. Basically, your footsteps are gonna be slightly less loud, but Light-Footed is not going to be amazing. We're going to put it into F tier. Next we have Stabber. This gives you 1 point into Short Blade. If you watched any of my previous ranking videos or any of my playthroughs, you know that I do not rank Short Blade anywhere near the top. In my opinion, it's one of the least useful weapon skills, and because of that, this goes into F tier. I am still not convinced the short blade is really useful. Even if you go for the one-step kills with the dagger, I think all the other weapons provide so much more than short blade, so this goes into F tier. Next we have Sneaky. Pretty straightforward, you get +1 sneaky. Now if you're going a sneak build, maybe you're playing with a really high population of zombies and you just want to go past them, you don't really want to fight them, then you might want to go the sneak build. Or maybe if you're a newer player and you're not that confident in fighting yet, you want to go sneak build. Again, pretty situational, but if you really want to go that way, this is going to give you 1 point. We're going to put it up here into B tier in the more situational traits. Next on the list is strong back. This is basically going to allow you to carry more based on your strength. So +1 or +2 more carry capacity. And we all know that the carry capacity can be really important because most of us are loot goblins and we just grab everything we can, and you know, we don't try to play it safe. We can try to carry as much as possible. I know I'm guilty of that, and I know a lot of you are guilty of that. So extra carry capacity for just 2 points is actually gonna be pretty decent. And I think this is so important, I'm gonna put it up here into A tier. Next on the list, we have Generator Expert. I don't feel that this is worth the 2 points because of course you all can find the generator book, especially like if you're starting with power on and not shut off already. You will have probably like 2 weeks or at least a week if you want to find a generator and a generator book. So I don't think having this right from the start is that necessary. Even if you start with power already shut off, you still have so many libraries and places where you can find that I don't think this is worth the 2 points. There's many more trades that are worth it, but you know, if you really are worried that you're not gonna find it, then maybe grab it. But to me, this is C tier. Next on the list, we have Nimble. Nimble is one of the more important skills in my opinion to have, especially if you do a lot of melee fighting. That just means you can, you know, keep the conga lines going for longer. You can just keep on backing off and stabbing or hitting zombies, and it's gonna be much easier to deal with zombies with a high nimble skill. So this one, for just 2 points, having 1 extra in nimble and having the extra XP to learn it faster, it's gonna make your life easier in the long run because we all have to fight zombies. So I'm gonna put this up here into A tier. Next, we have Accelerated Metabolism. Now this is a very interesting trait, and I would really love to see more traits like this because I think it's amazing in how it works. So basically this gives you plus 30% extra XP for strength and fitness when you're not hungry. This works even if you're packaged, just don't be hungry or, you know, lower. Which is amazing. Strength and XP are the toughest to level and takes the longest to level them up all the way, right? Nothing ever, no other trade will give you extra XP for strength or fitness. This one does, as long as you're not hungry. And in my opinion, if you're not starting with high strength and high fitness, this is the way to go. This is really the way to go. Maybe if you're playing underweight and you need to eat, you're never going to be hungry, so you get extra XP for these while you work out to regain the fitness and all that such. I think this is really an amazing trait, and it really only costs 2 points. This should cost more probably because it's so powerful. We're gonna put this up here into S tier. The last among the trades that cost you 2 points is the Electrical Technician. Straightforward, you get +1 electrical. Now, getting to +1 electrical is very important, so you can start hot wiring cars when you combine that with 2 in mechanics, right? But I don't think it's worth taking the point in electrical right from the start because it's going to be pretty easy for you to level it up just as you go, kill zombies, dismantle their digital watches and maybe some radios and TVs, especially if you read a book. You're going to get there in no time and get to 1 electrical, so I don't think this is really worth it. I'm gonna put it up here into C tier. Now we get to trades that cost you 3 points. And first we have durability. This gives you +1 maintenance. Maintenance is one of the more important skills, and you don't even realize that because basically the higher your maintenance, the longer your melee weapons are gonna last. So especially if you're playing with something like spears, it's really important to have high maintenance, otherwise your spear's gonna just break after 1 or 2 hits. So getting the extra XP to level it up makes this one really important, makes it really good, and in my opinion this is an A tier trait. Next one is Auto Mechanic. Basically gives you +1 mechanics and you can work on the vehicles, you know, that much easier. I think mechanics is definitely one of the more important skills to level up, so you can fix your cars, especially if you survive for a long time. Your car is gonna need fixing, and you know, you can salvage the other ones, you can repair your own one. Mechanics is always an important skill, but it's not one of the most important skills. And you are paying 3 points over here, no longer just 2. Still think mechanics is pretty good, and I'm gonna put it up here into B tier. The next one is Metal Welder. In my opinion, metalworking is not that important. You know, you get the +1 skill from this, and you can do more with metalworking these days than you could do in the past, especially if you're, trying to fix trunks of cars and other such on cars. But otherwise, I don't think really it's worth building too much stuff out of metal, but it's still a decent one if you really want to go for this, or if you're playing with one of those mods that add like metalworking weaponry and armor and all that such, then it could be more important. But I think straight for vanilla, it's a C tier trait. Next we have Crusher. Crusher gives you +1 in short blunt and allows you to level up your short blunt faster. Short blunt is definitely one of the better choices when it comes to weapons, because it's just, they're so numerous. There's so many of them, and a lot of them have good durability and they last you for a long time, but they will never be the best weapons out there, I don't know, axes are gonna be better, long blunt's gonna be better in the long run, spears, or I don't know, katanas, something like that. Still, short blunt is definitely decent. If you need to spend the points and you'll be going a lot with short blunt, then maybe this was going to be worth it. But I think it's still pretty situational and not that needed, so I'm gonna put it out here into C tier. Next on the list, and the last among the 3-point traits, is thick blood. Basically, if you get scratched or lacerated and you start bleeding out, you're gonna bleed out 50% slower. So basically it's gonna take twice the time to bleed out that normally it would. So this can be really, really useful for those neck wounds, right? Because a wound to the neck is gonna make you bleed out really, really fast. So having this trait is definitely gonna be useful, but I always argue, just don't get hit, right? Just don't get hit. I do understand a lot of people who, might just started playing Project Zomboid, haven't played for a while, aren't very used to combat. This can be really useful for them because they're not just gonna bleed out, they're gonna have time to finish off their zombie and then patch themselves up. So again, very situational. If you know that you are gonna be in risk in getting scratched and lacerated, then this could be very useful for you. I'm gonna put it up here into B tier. Now we start to get traits that are worth 4 points. You're gonna have to spend 4 points for that. So this is, it's quite costly already. And the first one is Cutter, that gives you +1 in axes. Axes are very powerful, especially if you go with something like a X-Men trait from the Lumberjack skill that really has that swing speed now against zombies fixed. And it can be incredibly powerful, so getting the extra XP for axes as well from this can be incredibly powerful. So Cutter can be really good, even if you, just maybe grab an axe and want to use it to fight some zombies. It can be very powerful, but it's still 4 points. I do think that this can be worth it, so I'm gonna put it up here into A tier. Next on the list, we have Lancer. Lancer gives you +1 in spears. We know that spears can be really, really, really powerful at a high level. And getting a high level of spears can be tougher because in straight up vanilla, there are no traits that will give you extra XP in spears. This one gives you +1, and that makes it really good. And, if you're going the spear way, this is gonna definitely be your way. And I think more people should go the spear way, because I wasn't sold on spears in the past. I have become sold on spears more and more as time goes on. I think this is an S tier trait. Next we have Shooter. This gives you +1 shooting, or I should say aiming, and +1 reloading. So you get both of those and you get the extra XP. Since this Simple Overhaul also overhauls some professions, this one is already built in new professions like soldier and I think also policemen and such, so you already have that in there. But yeah, Shooter, if you just want to go play with some guns, getting extra XP for guns can be really important, because that's going to allow you to get up to like level 3 with shotguns much faster, and then you can maybe start using something else, or up to level 5, so you can just use all guns. I think guns are the most powerful weapon in Project Zomboid, and people that still say no, guns kill people, not zombies, are, I think, wrong. So I think this is an A tier trait. I'm gonna put it up here. Next we have Swordsman. For 4 points, you get 1 point in Long Blade. Now, while I think Long Blade is pretty good, especially if you find a katana, you're just gonna chop up all the zombies. That being said, If you find a katana, you don't really need to have high long blade skill to just chop up the zombies. Even at level 0, you're gonna chop up zombies. Same with machete. And that being said, finding a katana is really hard. Finding machete is also pretty hard, so you're not gonna be ever using much of long blade unless you play with, I don't know, abundant resources and you're just very lucky and you'll find it everywhere. So I don't think this is that useful. I think it's pretty situational. I'm gonna put it out here into C tier. Last amongst the 4-point traits, we have Optimus. Look at this sunshine, how happy he is. Well, this makes you less bored, so you don't get bored as much. And it also makes sure that you don't get depressed as much because you're an optimist. Why would you be depressed, right? Now, in Project Zomboid, fixing boredom and depression is really easy. You can have magazines, you have books, you have TV, you have various food. Really, it's not a problem. Depression is really never a problem. Even if you get depressed, oh, you have antidepressants as well. It's really easy to fix. And for 4 points, I really don't think this is worth it, so I'm gonna put it down here into F tier. Next one, we have one trait that costs 5 points. This is the Way of the Ninja. That on paper looks really interesting. It gives you +1 sneak and +1 light-footed. You already know how I feel about light-footed. Sneaking can be very situational, so that's decent. And this one, the important and interesting part here is that it gives you a slight endurance regen while sneaking. Either if you stay still or move around. While sneaking, you're gonna get slight endurance regen, which can be very important because if you try to run while sneaking, you're gonna get tired much faster because you're crouching and you're running. So having that extra endurance regen, if you're going the sneak way, this could be really, really good. And you can also get this trait passively if you get to a very high level light-footed and sneaking skill. I think it's up to 8, which you probably never will unless you survive for years and you really focus on that one. But still, you can get this passively later on. But for 5 points, if you're really going the sneak build, this could be pretty decent for you. But again, it's very situational. I personally probably really wouldn't use it, but let's put it out here into B tier. Next, we have Marathon Runner for 6 points. This one gives you +1 fitness, which is really good, and +1 sprinting for those 6 points. And also, it does have the slight endurance regen while running. So if you're gonna be running around, which, of course makes you tired, your endurance is gonna regen slightly. So that just means it's not gonna fall down. You're not gonna get tired as much as fast. I think this can be pretty damn decent because, we do tend to run sometimes when we need to, but most of the time in Project Zomboid, you don't really need to run. You can just outwalk any zombie if you need to. Most of the times that I run is when I just, everything is clear. I'm trying to run from one point in my base to another and just run around, or if I really need to get back to my car or something like that, that's when I run. I don't really run among zombies, but still, this can be pretty decent because, endurance is important and so is fitness. Sprinting, usually less so unless you're playing with sprinter zombies, in which regard this could be really good, but I think this is gonna be up here into high B tier. Next one is Tout. This one is also 6 points and gives you straight up +1 strength, +1 fitness. You know my idea on this. Strength and fitness take the longest to level, so the higher you have it, the better for you because it's going to be way easier for you in-game. So having these right from the start, what is there not to love? So I think these bad boys can go up here into S tier. Next we have Relentless. Relentless gives you +1 strength, which we already said is important, and +1 nimble, which we ranked very high up here in the A tier. Both of those are really good traits if you're going full on melee build, and very importantly, there is a chance with this one that your melee swings are not going to consume any endurance while using this. This can be huge, especially if you're fighting with heavier weapons like maybe crowbars or any long blunt, or maybe axes that can also be pretty heavy. So this can be really good because it's going to allow you to go longer while fighting, because when you get slightly exerted, it's already like 50% less damage you're going to be doing. So the longer you can be on your feet, this is really good If you're going melee build, this is great, but even if you're not going melee build, this can be really useful. Even if you plan on using guns only, there's always going to be time when you get into melee, and extra nimble and extra strength is going to be very useful there. So I think this is also an S tier trait. Last but not least on this list is Sniper. This one costs 7 points, is the highest amongst all of these new positive traits, and it gives you +2 aiming. Now I'm not so sure how this works, but we have Shooter over here. Shooter costs 4 and gives you +1 aiming and +1 reloading. This one is 7 and gives you +2 aim. So that means that here, aiming is 3.5 points. Which means that here in Shooter, reloading is only 0.5, so half a point. I don't think this is really the math over here. I think reloading should be worth more. Or maybe aiming should be less, so maybe this one should be 6 as well. But I think for 7 points, I don't know if it's really worth it going straight in for aiming, +2 aiming for 7 points. Sure, guns can be great, but if you start with at least like +2 in guns, which you can if you just go with a certain profession, you don't really need this. And you're gonna be easily leveling up your guns and reloading as well. So I don't know if this is that important of a trait. I think I'm gonna put it out here into C tier. Can be pretty decent, but it's not the most amazing of them all. Now, here's the list. Please let me know, how do you feel about this? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What would you put into S tier? What would you put down here into F tier? And I'm gonna be soon ranking all of the negative traits as well, so keep an eye on that and check it out. For now, thank you for watching.